Now, according to the Washington Post, MS-13 members in the school start fights, sell drugs, rape fellow students. Teachers say they fear being alone with a lot of these kids. They also fear saying anything about it because speaking out could cost them their jobs. It's a tragedy that can be traced almost entirely to U.S. immigration policy, but elites don't seem to care at all and, in fact, crush any conversation about it by screaming racist. Needless to say, their kids will never attend William Wirt Middle School or anything even approaching it. Jose Aristimuno is a former DNC press secretary, and he joins us tonight. Jose, thank you for coming on.
Good to be with you.
What I found ironic about this story was this is this kind of third iteration of the MS-13 story. First, we were told they don't really exist. It's a figment of your racist imagination. Then we were told to attack them and call them names is immoral because they're good people. Okay. And now we have the Washington Post telling us in detail about how they've destroyed this middle school and are terrorizing the students. Are we allowed to acknowledge that, or are we bigots for doing so?
Well, no, let me start by saying this. If you're undocumented in this country, if you're a criminal, including being a member of MS-13, we don't want you in this country and you should be deported. Part of the issue here, Tucker, is that people like yourself and some Republicans want to pinpoint and just simply say because your first name Jose or you're Latino like me, I'm automatically an MS-13 gang member. And that is not true. A majority of immigrants in this country are good serving people.
Stop. You're a ridiculous person for saying that. I've never suggested anything like that. It's appalling that you would say that. I don't think that, and I've never suggested it.
I will speak the truth.
You're speaking a lie, and not for the first time. What I said is what I read in the Washington Post, which is self-identified gang members are destroying the school and terrorizing people. I bet you don't have kids at that school. I bet you never send your kids to that school. But you've got no problem with those people being in this country because it fits some sort of demographic plan that you approve of.
No, that is not true.
The truth is it's a disaster.
That is not true. I just said it. If you're an MS-13 gang member, if you're undocumented, you should be deported. A majority of people who are deported.
No. Then why have you consistently attacked anybody? No, yeah, right. Nobody has said that the majority of immigrants are criminals or bad. I'm not saying that. I don't think it. What I am saying is that we don't know the identity of people coming. He has not said that. You're lying for political gain, as always. What I have said, and what I think many normal people have said, is that we don't know who's coming into this country. We don't know anything about them. There are 20 million of them living here. We don't know their identities, their backgrounds.
I got an idea for you.
And some of them are bad people.
Okay, so you know what we do? Let me tell you what we do. We pass comprehensive immigration reform. We legalize a majority of people. It would be a whole lot easier, Tucker, to actually look for the real criminals if we legalize the good ones. Don't you think so?
How would, yeah. I mean, it's hilarious that that solution comports exactly with your political goal, which is to create more Democratic voters.
Oh my goodness, give me a break. That's not, no.
You tell me rationally how, if illegal immigration, the inability of the U.S. government to know who's living within its borders is the problem, how encouraging more of it, which is what amnesty would do, is the solution. There's no logical answer to that, because this is not something you're interested in solving.
Okay, so your answer, and to many Republicans' answer, is to deport the 14 million illegal immigrants and undocumented immigrants in this country. That's your solution.
So we're guessing at that number. Some people think it's 20 million.
Okay,
I think
20 million, 14 million. What do we do?
When wage growth has been stagnant and the cost of everything is growing much faster than the growth in wages, you need to stop the ability of employers to hire cheaper people because they're here illegally. We need to make E-Verify mandatory.
You cannot
hire people here illegally. No. Look, if you bothered to learn anything about this subject, if you took it seriously, or bigger than a political issue to you, which it's not. No, you don't know nothing about it. Then you would find
I am telling you that we have a choice to make as Americans.
About it.
I know more than you.
Then why should an employer? You know nothing. You know nothing.
I know more than you.
Why would an employer in this country be allowed to hire someone illegally, depressing wages for American citizens?
You want to fix that? You want to fix that problem? We reform the system. We legalize the people that are already here.
You could do
That's what we do.
Legalize it. No, you could do it tomorrow. Why should employers be allowed to hire illegal aliens?
I'm going to say it again.
Look right in the camera and tell me why they should be allowed to do that.
We got two choices here, Tucker. We got two choices. We deport the 14 million or 20 million, whatever number, or we legalize them.
This is just another stupid political talking point.
So we can actually get them out of the shadow. No, we get them out of the shadow.
I don't have time for conversations with people who don't know what they're talking about and haven't thought it through and want to come on and spew more talking points and call anybody who disagrees a racist, which is what you did in the very first sentence of this segment.
Because that's what you guys have done from the very beginning.
Yeah, you're pathetic. Mr. Attorney General, thanks for coming on.
Hey, thank you, Tucker.
So I want to ask you about this, but first I have to ask about a piece of breaking news our Catherine Herridge just has out saying that in January of this year, January 10th, Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein went up to the Hill, met with Republican members of the House Intel Committee, had a dispute with them, and threatened them with a subpoena of their emails and phone records. This is what one of them said. I read it as a not-so-veiled threat to unleash the full prosecutorial power of the state against us. DOJ on background has confirmed that something like that did happen. What is that about?
Well, I don't know that they've confirmed that exactly. In fact, the FBI director, the senior ethics attorney for the Department of Justice who was in the room, say that's a mischaracterization, really, of what occurred. And it also, I think, indicates that there's been a breakdown of relationships when, in fact, since January, a great deal of progress has been made. We understand in this department that we are accountable to the president, we are accountable to Congress, and we need to be cooperative with them to produce as many documents as rationally and legally and properly as can be produced, to produce them, and we've made tremendous progress in that regard, really.
Did the Deputy Attorney General threaten to subpoena the email or phone records of members of the House Intel Committee?
Well, I was not in the room, and I can't speak to what occurred. All I can say is that the people at Chris Wray, the director of the FBI, and our senior ethics attorney was there, and others, and did not see it in that same fashion.
Okay, so as a factual matter, you don't think that that happened?
I'm confident that Deputy Rosenstein, 28 years in the Department of Justice, did not improperly threaten anyone on that occasion. But we do believe that we have tried to be cooperative with them and made progress in months as the months have gone by, and in fact have had some good relationships with top members of Congress.
Okay. So you have made news recently by undoing an Obama-era rule about asylum seekers. Give us the overview. I think most Americans like the idea that this would be a haven for people suffering around the world. Lots of people claim asylum. What do we know about the veracity of their claims?
That's a good question. 7 years ago, 5,000 people were applied for asylum, claiming a credible fear of being at home in their home country, and they needed to flee that country. That number jumped to 94,000 in just 7 years. It's overwhelming our system. Over 80% of those claims are being denied by the immigration judges as being not meritorious. So it is a big problem for us, but it's each one of those is requiring trials and factual decisions by our judges. We're going to add 100 judges, and that may not yet be enough judges to handle the cases. We need to give the judges better guidance. They need to go back to the fundamental principles and laws and rules of the Immigration and Nationalization Act. And if we do that, then we're in a position where some of these cases can be promptly decided. You do not get to come to America if you have a private threat or someone personally attacks you. You do not get to have asylum for that. It's based on your race, your religion, your nationality, that you're part of some special identifiable group that's being persecuted in your home country. That's what it takes to have an asylum, and we need to get this straight, and I think it will help us. The decision I made, I believe it's right legally. I'm totally confident it's consistent with the intent of the drafters of the INA, our law, and I believe it will help us manage our caseloads better and give more focus to the people who deserve to be given asylum and help us eliminate those that are not worthy of this asylum.
Well, if over 80% of the applications are fraudulent, there's obviously a problem. So the DOJ has also recently weighed in on the question of speech on campus. What can the federal government do, the Department of Justice do, to ensure that people's First Amendment rights are protected? And why is it take until 2018 to get DOJ involved in this?
It's one of the big challenges of our time. I have come to believe, and it's almost unbelievable, that major colleges and universities would be taking action that restrict the right of free speech on a college campus. It's just got to be confronted. We have the authority under law to file a statement of interest in an ongoing litigation. So cases are being filed against the universities by students who complain, and if we think their complaints are meritorious, then we can file a statement of interest joining with them and explaining why we at the Department of Justice thinks these concerns are real and justified, and a court relief is appropriate. So we've had some success. We've had 2 cases where there's been a major change in the college and university's actions, and 2 cases where the judge has dismissed or rejected a motion to dismiss these cases by the universities and allowing the trials to go forward. We think it's a very important thing. Students should be participating in robust debate. They ought not to be intimidated. They ought not to be driven by political correctness to where you can't even speak up in class or on campus.
It's just amazing what an upside-down world it is when a conservative attorney general is defending the First Amendment against liberals. It's like things have changed almost too much. Mr. Attorney General, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Good to be with you.